A quick little disclaimer before this video begins. Most of the footage and audio recorded in this video was recorded a few months ago, so therefore any new moves that have been added with DLC Pack 8, such as Super Souls, Super Attacks, Ultimate Attacks, have not been considered in this video, but it is possible that some of the new moves or Super Souls could be quite helpful for raids. I just wanted to clarify that before the video begins, but without further ado, please enjoy the video.
Humiliation. That was pathetic.
2 hours later.
It's official. You suck.
God! I'm surrounded by idiots! Idiots!
Idiots. Idiots everywhere. What's going on, YouTube? Welcome to D&CGaming Legion. My name is Chris, and welcome to my Raids for Dummies guide. Now, I've been playing raids on this game for a very long time, and I've played with so many different people, yet I've seen all those different people make the same mistakes over and over and over again. And here's the thing, raids are not that complicated. In fact, they're actually fairly simple to complete. You just gotta know what you're doing. And I guess that's the problem. I guess so many people just don't know what to do. And that is precisely why in this guide I am going to go over everything you need to know about raids, including things like Super Souls, items, Super Attacks, evasive skills, ultimates, everything you could ever possibly need to know about raids I'm going to go over in this video. That way, the next time you play a raid, you won't be a dummy. So let's dive right into it. Let's start off with Super Souls. Now, when it comes to Super Souls, there is one go-to Super Soul, one that is better than all the rest when it comes to raids. That Super Soul is Zamasu's Super Soul. It is called I Really Do Love Being Immortal. And what does it do, and why is it so important? What it does is it makes you auto-revive when you get knocked out. Now, why is that important? Well, honestly, that should be self-explanatory. I mean, if your character can auto-revive themselves, that means you don't have to rely on your teammates to get revived. They could still be fighting the boss while you're self-reviving. Still not convinced that it's the most important Super Soul to have for a raid? Fine. Let me show you an in-game example that happened to me while I was playing the Broly raid. So in this clip right here, you'll see my entire team dies. I'm the last one left alive. Now, since everyone else is dead, there's no one to distract the boss, so he's attacking me. So I can't revive anybody. I have to simply survive against him. But I don't have to. Because my friend Danny has the Zamasu Super Soul equipped, he's self-reviving. So eventually, he gets up on his own. And because he's able to get up, he's able to revive one of my other teammates that's down. Now, imagine for a second if every single teammate on my team had Zamasu's Super Soul equipped. Well, guess what? Everybody could then self-revive on their own and they wouldn't need anyone's help. And since the entire team died at around the same time, everybody then would have self-revived at around the same time, which means the entire team would have been back up at full force to help fight Broly. And we only had about a minute left to survive in this raid. So if everybody was revived and someone used a healing item, we could have won this raid. We were so close. But do you see now how useful this Super Soul is? How it can make the difference between winning or losing a raid? This is why everybody should have this Super Soul equipped. I cannot stress this enough. I'm probably going to repeat myself a few times throughout this video, but for the love of Kami, please equip this fucking Super Soul. Do yourself a favor. Do your teammates a favor. Do me a favor. Please equip this Super Soul. It's the best one you could equip for raids. It will help you immensely.
So just fucking do it!
If there is one thing to get out of this video, it is to equip that Super Soul above all else. Now, where do you get this Super Soul from? Well, you get it from Parallel Quest 109, which is in DLC Pack 3. So you might be saying to yourself, well, what if I don't have DLC Pack 3? Then I can't get the Super Soul. What do I equip then? If you don't have this Super Soul, then at the very least, you need to equip a Super Soul that'll help either the team or help you survive. Because that's the goal at the end of the day when it comes to raids, surviving. Surviving is simply more important than doing damage to a raid boss, because unless the raid boss has a really low amount of health, you're not going to kill him. 9 out of 10 times he's going to have too much health, and you're just going to have to survive. That's why you should focus on using Super Souls that help you survive the boss. So what other Super Souls can you equip that'll help you survive? Well, there's quite a few. The first one is called Revival of the Demon Realm is at Hand. You get this from Parallel Quest 97. This Super Soul makes it where you revive your teammates much faster. And on top of that, when the raid starts, all team members start off with a couple bars of ki already charged. The next Super Soul is called You get this one from feeding Majin Buu's kids, the red ones. And what this Super Soul does is when you have a reinforcement skill activated and an awoken skill activated at the same time, you and your entire team will automatically regenerate health. So this one's very handy when it comes to healing you and the team. So moral of the story is, equip Zamasu's Super Soul, or at the very least, equip a Super Soul that's going to help you or your team survive. The next thing I want to mention is a mechanic in the game that not many people are aware of called Flash Revive. Now, what this is it was introduced many months ago in one of the free updates, and essentially it's a way to quick revive teammates that are down. So the way it works is you lock onto a down teammate, you hold the block button, and then you hit the light attack button. So if you're on the PlayStation, that'd be L1 and then you hit the square button. If you're on Xbox, that'd be LB and you hit the X button. Now this does consume health, however if you were to use a healing item that can regenerate your health, you could essentially go from teammate to teammate, instantly reviving them really quickly. This is extremely helpful tool for getting teammates back up into the fight really quickly, and I think not many people are aware of this because I've played so many raids and no one seems to be doing this except for me. So I want everyone to be aware that quick revives are a thing. Next, let's talk about limit bursts. Limit bursts can be extremely helpful for raids and essentially can make the difference between winning or losing. Because not only do limit bursts affect you, but they also affect the entire team as well. Now, just like with Super Souls, the limit bursts that you want to have equipped for raids are the ones that can help you survive. Now do bear in mind, the type of limit burst that you will have available to you is based on the type of Super Soul you have equipped. So, if you have Zamasu's Super Soul equipped like I told you to earlier, hint, 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 the limit burst effect that you'll get is a auto health and auto stamina recovery limit burst that affects the entire team and you. This is obviously very handy because the entire team is getting healed and everyone's getting stamina back to be able to use an evasive skill if necessary. Now, do bear in mind that only one limit burst can be used per match, and it's going to obviously affect the entire team. So, when should you use a limit burst? Well, don't be like this guy right here and use it at the start of the match. Because if you use it at the start of the match when no one's in trouble, no one's in danger, you're wasting the limit burst. There's a name for players like this who use limit bursts at the start of raids.
We'll call him Squidward.
So don't be a Squidward. Don't waste the limit burst. Make sure to use it later in the match when your team needs it the most. And if the limit burst that you have on is, say, a damage buff limit burst, don't even bother using it then. Just let one of your other teammates use one of the other more useful limit bursts like the healing one that I mentioned before. Next on the list of things you need to know is items. So, whether you're aware of it or not, you can indeed use items when you're in a raid. Now, I'm going to tell you what items you need to have equipped. First, everybody on the team needs to have a Sensu Bean item equipped. What does this do? Well, it's quite simple. Makes it where when you go down, you can use a Sensu Bean. Your character will instantly revive with full health and ki, and your character will still be transformed if you had transformed before you were knocked out. Everybody needs this so they can get back up really quickly. This is mandatory. And another thing about Sensu Beans is make sure you use your Sensu Bean at the right time. If you get knocked out early on in the raid, don't waste your time using a Sensu Bean to get up, wait for a teammate to revive you. Or if you have Zamasu's Super Soul equipped, you'll get up on your own. What I'm saying is, make sure you use it at the right time, like during an emergency, like when teammates are dying left and right. Now, the other three items that you want to have equipped are all regen capsules. You want to have an all regen capsule large, medium, and small. What these essentially do is they regenerate all the team's health, yours and your teammates. So obviously that's self-explanatory why that's good. I mean, you're healing the entire team, you're healing yourself, and the regeneration lasts for a good amount of time, so just have these equipped and use them, please. They'll help the team out immensely. Now that we've gotten all the equipment out of the way, let's move on to super attacks, ultimate attacks, and evasives. So let's start off with evasives. When it comes to raids, there's one evasive that is the go-to one. It is called Vanisher Guard. Now what this evasive does is it essentially makes you invincible for a brief moment in time. And because of the fact that you're invincible, and because of the fact that this evasive skill lasts for a fairly long time, this is the perfect move for avoiding that razor hail attack that the raid boss does. You know, the one where they make all those like razor blades appear and it hits everybody. This is the perfect evasive skill for avoiding this. Now, moving on to super attacks, this is where you have some flexibility when it comes to deciding which ones you want to have equipped. However, there are a few super attacks that I do feel are mandatory when it comes to raids. The first mandatory super attack you absolutely must have equipped is Super Guard. Now, this one makes it where essentially you guard and you're invincible. You cannot be harmed. You need this super attack because, like I said earlier, when the boss does that Razor Hail move, this is the only safe way you can avoid it. You need this. Also, being able to use Super Guard, you can use this to cancel out of combos. So let's say you're hitting the boss with a combo and he uses his evasive skill, you could use Super Guard to save yourself from it if it's going to be a damaging one like Broly's. An alternative option you have to Super Guard, although one that is a little risky, is Drain Field. Now what Drain Field does is it puts up a barrier, and this barrier will absorb all Ki Blast based attacks, and you'll get Ki for every attack you absorb. The thing is, this move cannot absorb physical attacks, but it can however absorb the Razor Hail move that the raid boss does. So you do have a bit of a risk because you don't have any 8 defense against, say, melee attacks or grabs, but I mean the Razor Hail move is obviously very deadly, and being able to get Ki back for absorbing that is handy. What you could do is have Super Guard equipped and have Drain Field equipped at the same time. That's one way, and you could use the Super Guard for physical attacks and then Drain Field for everything else, but that's up to you. The next mandatory super attack that you must have equipped is Maximum Charge, or Divinity Unleashed. Maximum Charge obviously charges your Ki, and Divinity Unleashed does the same thing, but instead of charging as fast, it gives you a buff where whenever you take damage or deal damage, you're going to get back Ki. So, again, Maximum Charge or Divinity Unleashed, that one comes up to, personal preference, which one you prefer, but you need at least one of them equipped. Now, for your last 2 super attacks, you have some options. What I recommend, however, is that one of your super attacks should be a move that either has good tracking or a move that can fire really quickly. And your last super attack should be a utility move. Now I'm going to give you a couple examples of moves that fit that criteria. So for moves that have good tracking, some options you have are Die Missile Barrage, Sudden Storm, Trap Shooter, Reverse Shot. Heavenly Arrow has decent tracking but can also be used to get you some distance from the raid boss, which is handy. Consecutive Energy Blast, and Split Finger Shot. Now for some moves that fire really quickly, you have Death Beam. Dodon Ray fires really quickly, and you can actually link that into a combo. Handy Ken, you can do the same thing. Saturday Crash actually has decent tracking and will actually stun the raid boss for a brief moment in time, so you can then go up to him and start a combo. Side Bridge is another really quick attack that also comes back, so you can hit the boss 2 times and it might potentially save you. And last but not least, we have Feint Shot. This is Pan's move, and what's cool about this one is you teleport a few times when you use it, and you can control how many times you teleport, so this is a good way of, say, dodging the boss's attacks and then closing the gap after you fire the blast. Now, when it comes to examples for utility moves, you have options such as Go-Go Gum, which, when you use Go-Go Gum, you can't harm the boss. However, it does stun the boss for a good amount of time, so it kills time. It delays, the boss from doing anything. So during this time, while the boss is, immobilized, he can't do anything. And because of that, your team can then, focus on doing something. They could revive down teammates. They could charge Ki. They could heal. They could do something. And so this is a very useful move for raids when it comes to delaying the boss. Another also good option is the Stone Spit move that the Boar has, which kind of does the same thing, although once you hit the target, they do get knocked out of it, but again, it's not a bad option for stunning the boss. There's also Position Shift, which has a long animation, so the boss will be stuck in this for a little bit. However, you also will be stuck in the animation, so you won't be able to do anything, but again, your teammates can then, heal, revive, and do other stuff while you are distracting the boss. Another option you also have is Audacious Laugh. What this does is it slows the boss down, And once you slow him, you don't have to do that ever again throughout the match, so it's a one-time use. Use it once and then you're good. Last but not least, another good option you could also use is God of Destruction's Anger. This is Beerus's move, and what this does is it fires a death beam that actually will break the boss's stamina. So obviously that's handy for, doing a bunch of damage to him while his stamina is broken. So if you're curious what my setup is for super attacks, I have Super Guard, Maximum Charge, Go-Go Gum, and then I generally tend to use Heavenly Arrow or say Reverse Shot. Now let's move on to ultimates. Now something I want to point out is you can use dual ultimates on a raid boss. As long as the raid boss is not a giant like Great Ape or they don't have super armor, you can in fact use dual ultimates. Now dual ultimates do a decent amount of damage, but most importantly, they kill time. It's also worth pointing out that all dual ultimates do pretty much the same damage, so you can pick whichever one you want. However, the Super Ghost Kamikaze, a dual ultimate attack, actually has probably the longest animation, so if you want to kill the most time when you're fighting a boss, so that way your teammates can, revive, heal, and do other stuff, then you definitely want to use this dual ultimate. Now, for your other dual ultimate, you want to equip Soul Punisher if the raid boss has the gigantic, Death Ball Meteor move that they throw at you that you have to push back, because obviously Soul Punisher can push it back, instantaneously without any issues. If the raid boss does not have that move, however, then you kind of can pick more or less whatever ultimate you want. Again, I'd recommend one that either has really good tracking or fires very fast. So a few examples would be Special Beam Cannon, it only takes 3 bars of ki, fires really quickly. Supernova Cooler is a fast firing one. Assault Rain has excellent tracking. SS Deadly Bomber has also really good tracking. Emperor's Death Beam is another move you can easily combo into, though one thing you do have to be aware is that if the boss just so happens to use that Razor Hail move while you're stuck in the Emperor's Death Beam animation, well, you might be in trouble then, but again, it is a very easy move to hit confirm into. And last but not least, another ultimate you also can use if you really want to is you could use Energy Zone, which essentially what that one does is it heals you and any teammates that are inside the Energy Zone. So if you want to, save some healing items and, heal yourself, this is also not a bad option to have either. One last thing, when it comes to transformations, you really can't go wrong with Potential Unleashed. I mean, it gives you a damage boost, it makes it where you can recover ki faster, so I feel like you can't go wrong with having that. Granted, if your character just so happens to be a Saiyan, and you have the Super Saiyan transformation activated, then you can equip Big Bang Kamehameha, and you'll instantly fire it, you don't have to charge it up, so that's also another option, but I recommend Potential Unleash at the end of the day. So that's everything you need to know about the basic raid bosses, but there are a few raid bosses that are different. And because of the fact that they're different, you might have to change your playstyle and even change some of your moves up. So now I'm going to go over what makes these other raid bosses different and what you should be doing against them. So the 3 different types of raid bosses are Great Ape raid bosses, Super Armor raid bosses, and Auto Dodge raid bosses. Let's start with the Great Ape raid bosses. So for the Great Ape raid bosses, you definitely want to equip Dragon Flash Bullet. What this move does is it fires kind of like a shotgun. The closer you are to the target, the more damage you'll do. Now normally, this move would push back the target, but since the Great Ape's a giant boss, he doesn't get pushed back. So once you break the Great Ape boss's stamina, rush up to him and use this ability point blank right in his face. This will rack up a huge amount of points. Also, make sure that someone is ready to grab the tail once the stamina for the Great Ape returns. That way you can do a little extra damage, but more importantly, you kill some time. Because again, that's the name of the game, is you're trying to survive. One last thing to note about the Great Ape raid bosses is that they also can use the Razor Hail move. However, they tend to do it a little bit slower. Now, since utility moves like Go-Go Gum don't really work against Great Ape bosses, you might want to instead equip Drain Field for your utility move. That way you can use that for the Razor Hail move, since it's much more easy to react to since he fires it slower. Now for the Super Armor raid bosses like Corrupted Zamasu, what you need to do is think smart and use moves that can get some distance between you and the boss. So Heavenly Arrow is a very good choice because it pushes you back. Backflip also can help you get your distance. Data Input's also good for just dodging his attacks in general. And another move I recommend is Evil Blast, because this is a counter move, and this will get you some distance between the boss, while also firing an Energy Blast, doing some good damage to him, which will also slow him down just a little bit. I also recommend you use Audacious Laugh to slow him, since he's mainly going to come at you with melee attacks for the most part. Another thing that's also worth noting about Corrupted Zamasu is he doesn't have the Razor Hail attack that like all the other raid bosses tend to have. He has like all of his own original moves. So you don't have to worry so much about, you know, him wiping out the entire team. Pretty much as long as one person keeps him distracted for a little bit while, you know, the rest of your teammates go and revive the people that are down, you could take him. I'd also recommend you use Energy Zone, since dual ultimates don't work on him because he's of his super armor, so that way you can heal yourself and maybe, you know, and your teammates at the same time without having to worry so much about using items. And last but not least, we have the auto-dodging raid bosses. Now for these guys, you want to have a move like Saturday Crash that could stun them. Once they're stunned, you can then start a combo and start, you know, attacking them normally like you would any other normal raid boss. A move like Dodon Ray or Handy Cannon also works well because, again, you hit them, then you go in really quick, you start a combo, and then, you know, it's pretty much the basic, regular stuff you'd be doing for any of the raid bosses. So, that's really all you need to know for those guys. And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. That is literally every single thing you need to know about these raid bosses. So now that I've told you literally everything you need to possibly know about raid bosses, let's do a quick little recap.
If you do the thing, and you do it right, and you don't fuck it up, it works. It just works.
Okay, let's go over a recap for real this time. Okay, first thing. Equip Zamasu Super Soul. It's called I Really Do Love Being Immortal, or at the very least, equip a Super Soul that will help either you or the team survive the raid. 2. Make sure you use Limit Burst. Use a supported Limit Burst that'll help the team out, and make sure you can use it at the right time when the team's going to need it the most. 3rd, make sure you make use of the Flash Revive system or Quick Revive system. That way you can get your teammates revived really quickly when they need it the most. 4. Make sure you have a Sensu Bean item equipped so you can self-revive yourself when you go down instantly, and make sure you have all regen items equipped on your character so that way you can heal the entire team and yourself at the same time. 5. Make sure you have Super Guard equipped, and then either have Maximum Charge or Divinity Unleashed equipped, as well as you have one utility move and one move that either has good tracking or is a very fast firing move. Make sure you have Soul Punisher equipped if the raid boss has the gigantic, you know, death ball you have to push back, and make sure you also use dual ultimates if the boss, you know, is vulnerable to dual ultimates, that is, of course. 6. Make sure you have Vanisher Guard equipped for your evasive skill, and also, again, equip Potential Unleash for a transformation, because you can't go wrong with that. And lastly, make sure you adjust your moves accordingly depending on the type of raid boss that you fought. And that is it, ladies and gentlemen. That is everything you need to know about raids and how not to be a dummy when you play them. If you made it this far in the video, give yourself a pat on the back. You, sir, and or madam, are awesome. As I said in the disclaimer, I ran into a lot of real-life stuff, which is why this video took so long to make. But, you know, I finally got around to making it, and just in time, too, because, you know, they just added a free update to Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2 that added a new 5v1 raid mode, and some of the stuff I mentioned in this video might be helpful for that new game mode. If you got anything out of this video, if you learned anything out of this video, please hit the like button down below. I would really appreciate this. This took a long time to make. I think this is actually the longest video on the channel, possibly. And make sure to share the video with other people so they know how to play raids without being dummies. If you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button down below, hit the bell icon for notifications, and I'll see you guys next time. This is Chris from D&CGaming Legion signing off, and I can't wait to play DLC 8.